another executive at the time looked at the picture and said, and I quote, "If you put two women on a poster, people will think it's a lesbian movie."
Cool.
And mind you, this is 1985. So to this man, that was a bad thing. A.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Cool.
What do you know about two certified bangers? PhantasmaCast.
Welcome back to PhantasmaCast, folks. I'm guy number 1.
And I'm guy number 2.
And today we're going to be talking about 1985's Desperately Seeking Susan and 1998's You've Got Mail.
We sure are.
A pair of rom-coms where the romantic hook hinges on different forms of communication that are very much of those two movies' times. But first, just a reminder that the best way to stay up to date with us is by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And you can also catch us on socials at Two Certified Bangers. Let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with it.
Desperately Seeking Susan, the kind of like pop star vehicle before pop star vehicles existed, right?
Yeah, this is the model.
This is the Madonna model.
The Madonna model. And you better follow it because it worked.
Yeah.
Every teenage girl started dressing like this after this movie.
The way Madonna shows up in this movie is how she showed up for the rest of the 80s, you know? Kind of like set the kind of the visual language of Madonna, you know, which is what she's the iconic image of what Madonna is, right?
Yeah.
But the movie's not about Madonna.
No.
It was about something else.
Yeah, what is it about? Read that back of the box.
Okay, here we go. If you know what to look for, you can find almost anything in the personal ads, including the love of your life. Rosanna Arquette is irresistible in her first starring role, and pop star Madonna gives a marvelously comic performance in this delightful madcap comedy about mistaken identity. Say that 5 times real fast.
I won't. Thank you.
Bored New Jersey housewife Roberta fills her days by reading the personals and following an ongoing romance between Jim and Susan, mysterious drifters who appear to lead the kind of free-spirited lives that she can only dream about. And dream she does, until the day she actually shows up at the couple's pre-arranged rendezvous in New York City. And after a bump on the head, a bout of amnesia turns her into Susan and opens the door to intrigue, laughter, and love. Directed by Susan Seidelman, with a stellar supporting cast that includes Aidan Quinn, Mark Bloom, Robert Joy, Laurie Metcalf, Will Patton, Stephen Wright, Peter Maloney, Giancarlo Esposito, and John Turturro.
Okay. Before you dive in,
okay,
I will say it's really weird that they add Giancarlo Esposito before John Turturro, who has speaking lines.
I have seen the movie 3 times now. I cannot recall where we ever see Giancarlo Esposito.
I think he's the street vendor that when Roberta, Rosanna Arquette is following Susan after she sees them, her and Jim meet up. She's like following her to the pawn shop. She stops at a street vendor to like try on some glasses. And she's like, oh yes, nice. That's great. He's like, yeah, put on this hat, baby. Yeah, it looks good on you. I think that's him.
So he's on the screen for like 2 seconds, and they're like, Breaking Bad guy is in the movie.
Yeah, John Turturro, who?
Yeah,
God, love you, John.
But we watched this on the Kino Lorber version, which is great, and I actually watched the audio commentary, and it's awesome too. Like, normally when I watch these boutique label commentaries, there's like a new commentary track that was done by like a film critic, but this one was actually done by like pretty much the entire like creative not like the entire creative team, but like the people that really made the movie happen. Director Susan Seidelman, Barbara Boyle, the executive producer,
Cool.
Etta Ryan, Midge Sanford, and Sarah Pillsbury.
Was this a recent like commentary track, or was it like from like a decade ago or something like that?
You know,
Hard to tell. Sometimes they come right out and say this is when we're recording it or not.
yeah. At a certain point in the commentary track, one of the ladies, and it's impossible to tell them apart. I don't know which one's talking at a time, so I couldn't like.
Oh, they didn't do an intro? Like, hi,
they did an intro, but it's just like, like the same kind of toned voice.
Okay. Maybe they're like such good friends that they kind of sound like
alike.
each other. Like two podcast hosts you might be aware of.
But yeah, without seeing their faces, you don't really know who's talking on that much, except for Susan Seidelman, because she does a lot of the talking. But at one point in the commentary, they do say like, she says something like 10 years later. So I'm thinking that it was maybe like a DVD commentary or like a Laserdisc commentary. Like it's definitely an older one, I think.
Okay.
But anyways, we digress. The movie is stacked, I think, like in terms of cast. And it's ironic to say that, right? Because like at the time, they had wanted to make the movie with like New York City unknowns, right? So you had Rosanna Arquette, who really, she really wasn't in all that much.
This was like her breakout.
Yeah, it was like her first leading role.
Cool.
And in the commentary track, they talk about, they had thought of her because she had been around, she had done stuff, they were aware of her, and so she wanted to play the role of Susan, but Susan Seidelman was like, no, we want you for like the lead role. So, and then she's like, okay, I'll do that then.
She's like, I already said yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then I think that the casting of Madonna is just a story you can't ignore about this movie.
I read a little bit about it, so I'd love to hear your distillation of it.
Yeah. Well, when they brought Susan Seidelman on board to direct the film, she really wanted to make a movie where you could kind of feel the texture of New York City. And so she said, I really only want to cast people from New York or people who are working in New York. And I only want to cast like unknowns. But there is this musical artist who had been playing at clubs around New York that I want to put in the movie too. Her name's Madonna. And so when she had suggested that, Barbara Boyle, the executive producer, was unconvinced. She was just like, "You want to put like this musician that no one even knows about?" She's like, in this movie,
Madonna, what
exactly? And she, like, to be fair, like Madonna had released an album or two at this point, but she wasn't Madonna. You know, I think she had already released Lucky Star and Holiday as like singles. But by and large, like, people were watching the movie be made. The crowds were forming on the street because they thought Cyndi Lauper was making a movie.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
But Susan Seidelman stuck with it. She was like, I want Madonna to be in this movie. Like, just meet with her. Right. And so Barbara Boyle had all these tapes of music videos that Madonna had done sent to her. She said after watching about a dozen music videos back to back and about 4 Excedrin later, she still didn't know anything about her acting ability. She's like, this is these music videos, because like, again, like MTV wasn't MTV yet, right? So like, she talks about music videos like these like new things that people like didn't really see all that often.
Yeah, I don't see catching on.
Exactly. Yeah. And so she's just like, this is an editor's medium. Like, why am I watching this to see how she can act? Which is true, right? So she's like, all right, bring her in, you know? And then she goes on to tell this great story about how upon entering Barbara's office, Madonna got on her knees and begged her for the part.
Oh,
And she said she'd do anything for the role, to which Barbara quipped, I'm sorry, but I'm a heterosexual.
okay.
And I can just imagine her in just like a power suit with shoulder pads that went out to here, you know, passing judgment on Madonna.
Despite appearances.
But so they talked about it, and they agreed that if Madonna did several weeks of acting classes and then did a screen test, and if the screen test went well, they would cast her in the movie.
Okay. That's great to know, because then that dispels any of these like stories out there where it's just like, oh yeah, this was a vanity Madonna project. Like, nah, she had to work for it just like everyone else. Sorry.
There was resistance to casting Madonna, like from the suits. And then even after the screen test, she wasn't convinced. She was like, I don't know, but go for it, basically. Because Susan Seidelman, still pushed for her to be in the movie. And ironically, during the production of the film in 1984 is when Madonna's album Like a Virgin was released.
Mm-hmm.
Which did
change
what to her career?
Everything.
Yes. Now she's Madonna. And now people are seeing her as not Cyndi Lauper. They're seeing Madonna in this movie. And, there's a fun story about how they had to hire extra security at a certain point. Because they're just making this like low budget $5 million movie in New York City. Like they're kind of slumming it,
Yeah.
And then they got to all of a sudden like start hiring security so that people like don't mob Madonna like in the middle of the filming. Yeah. So, the suits went from kind of like questioning and making her like jump through all these hoops to we need to finish this movie now so that we can like get on this Madonna train.
Yeah. It's amazing how some things never change when it comes to like the big money makers for like getting a film made. They claim to be like, listen, I've been in this business. I know what's going to work and what's not going to work. They're humans just like everyone else. They don't know shit.
No, yeah, dude. I there's another story from this that like supports that entirely.
Oh, cool.
It's like the more things I hear executives say, the more I'm convinced that it doesn't take good ideas to be successful at anything.
No,
you know what I mean?
It takes the pushback of like, you're wrong about this. Like, I understand where you're getting this like belief, but I think things are about to change.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a story again from the commentary. It's just a great commentary track. You got to listen to
dude,
it.
It sounds rich with information. I have it, so I will check it out.
The producers go in to meet with a marketing agency. Like as the movie's nearing the end of production, they're trying to figure out how to promote the movie, and they're given all of these kind of promotional materials up on a wall. And the general vibe I got was that like none of it seemed to understand what kind of movie they had on their hands.
Okay.
I had two. I was able to pull two examples. One was a kind of shot of Roberta looking over a brick wall, like down at Susan, and they're just kind of, and there's,
she's trying to find this woman.
And then the funnier one is it's Madonna's face reflected in a toaster, and Roberta's face in a piece of toast that's popping up out of the toaster.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, so people have been turning in like 1159 homework assignments forever.
Yes. No, yeah, exactly.
Didn't do the reading. Here we go.
And so as another piece of promotion for the movie, they had this photographer, Herb Ritz, take a series of photographs of Madonna and Rosanna Arquette, which actually appeared on the cover of Rolling Stone. And Barbara Boyle was like, why don't we use one of those pictures? And another executive at the time looked at the picture and said, and I quote, "If you put two women on a poster, people will think it's a lesbian movie."
Cool.
And mind you, this is 1985. So to this man, that was a bad thing. A.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Cool.
So yeah, I think it's a theme we keep kind of returning back to on this show, that like the suits really don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No.
And it almost seems by accident that any movie is successful.
Yeah.
Like despite their efforts, you know.
They're like, listen, we've got money, but we've also got terrible ideas. Exactly. Here you go.
But you know that I think those are fun kind of stories about the making of the movie. But you know, plot wise, it is about Roberta, played by Rosanna Arquette, and she's in this kind of middle class yuppie life with her husband, who's like a hot tub salesman.
Yeah, Gary Glass.
And like immediately we kind of get the feeling that she's absolutely just a trophy wife to him. Like he doesn't really seem to like care all that much about her.
She's like an appliance more than a trophy. She's just kind of there, and he's like, "Oh, you're here. By the way, go get like our radio for the car. Tell them we're married because I get a good discount."
We'll get yeah. There's another scene where it's after, because they've had like a birthday party for her 30th birthday party.
Is that what that was?
That's what they said in the commentary track. I don't recall if they say it diegetically in the film, but the producer said it was her 30th birthday. And I was like,
that's sad.
Oh my God.
That's a very sad scene in retrospect now.
But yeah, afterwards she can't like sleep. So she's sitting in the kitchen watching TV, eating her birthday cake.
She's watching Rebecca, by the way. Hitchcock's Rebecca.
Oh, right. Okay. So she's a hopeless romantic. And her husband comes down. And the first thing he says to her is, "You can watch this on the headphones in the bedroom," right? He's so about the toys, you know, that they can buy with his money.
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
like, "What are you doing watching this out here like a square? Be hip. Watch it with headphones
on the portable TV, you know." And as he leaves, he tells her, "Don't eat all that cake," and then shuts the light off.
Yeah,
and it's like one of the producers said it's almost like she doesn't exist to him, you know, and that's true.
Yeah, I actually didn't clock that he just turned the lights off.
Yeah, he turns the light off to come in, and then turns it off when he leaves.
That's awesome.
It like doesn't notice that like she's clearly, you know, discontent, and he's just like, "All right, bye," you know.
Yeah. I love Gary, not as a person. He's awful. He's an awful man.
Well, yeah.
I love Gary as a character because there are instances like that later, like when he brings Susan over and she's looking through Roberta's nightstand at her books and is like, "Oh, how to have amazing sex." And he's like, "I didn't even know Roberta read that kind of stuff." He doesn't even look in her nightstand. He's not glued into what she's even interested in. So of course he would just turn the light off while she's eating cake for her 30th birthday, which I say is a depressing scene in retrospect, because my understanding of that scene was we were there to watch Gary's fucking commercial.
He made it about him.
It's like, "Oh, it's about to be on, guys. Let's go."
Yeah.
Gary's Oasis.
Yeah. You know? It's she's decoration to him, you know?
Yeah.
And it really seems like the only time he cares about her is when she's gone missing. So Roberta is this kind of just like listless character, you know?
She's just in a malaise in her marriage, in her life.
She wants more. She wants adventure. She wants romance, you know? And that's what kind of makes her a little obsessed about these personal ads, right? And for those who don't know, there was a time when we had these things called newspapers, and everyone read them. And you could put ads for really anything in the newspaper. You're looking for something, someone's looking to offload something, boom, you know, commerce.
Yeah. In today's parlance, that's called posting. But you had to pay to post it in print to put it in circulation.
Like send it out and wait for the next week's publication to come out. Yeah.
If you were a freak, you had to put in the legwork. To run on down and submit it by hand.
Think about just a snail mail version of Craigslist. That's exactly what it was. And so there's this personals ad that she frequently sees called Desperately Seeking Susan, where this guy puts out a personals ad and he's looking for his girlfriend. And he's like, he can't find her. He doesn't know where she is, but he's telling her, hey, meet me at this place at this time so we can hook up. Right. And that also just kind of like says something about the time that this movie's shot in. Like she doesn't have a cell phone and she's kind of a rolling stone. So she doesn't really have one place that she lives. They're all over the world, kind of, you know, she's globetrotting.
Yeah. There's an understanding between their relationship where she's going to do her own thing, but they're going to come back together and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just their relationship.
And that's where the title of the movie comes from, Desperately Seeking Susan. So Roberta is like, you know what? I'm gonna decide to go out and like people watch and see this happen. Like I want to like experience that. And there's a great transition sequence that's pointed out by one of the producers of the film. Actually, it's during her birthday party and she kind of walks away from it and she looks out across the water to the city and she sees a bridge.
It's a great shot. I love that.
And the bridge kind of visually connects the two characters because the next shot is a bus coming into the city via the bridge and off comes Susan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that because it definitely communicates like the yearning of just the bored New Jersey housewife wanting to go into the city. And what awaits her, who knows? But that's part of the fun that she's looking for, that she's desperately seeking.
You're a fucking poet.
Boom, baby. Right below Carl Franklin.
So she decides I'm gonna go and see their next rendezvous, and she goes and she follows Susan from there. Susan goes, pawns a jacket that she's wearing for some boots, and then Roberta's like, I want to be like her.
Yeah, fuck people watching.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
people
do a little role play.
yeah. So she buys the jacket and comes home, and Gary has another zinger of a line. She's like, "I got it at a pawn shop," and he's like, "What are we, poor?"
Yeah, I love that. One little moment about that scene that I liked. She's watching Julia Childs on TV, and so that connects ever so slightly with You've Got Mail because Nora Ephron did a movie called Julie and Julia about Julia Childs. So I liked that.
Oh, fun.
And as it came up, I was like, I think that's Julia Childs. And then Gary comes in and goes, "Hi, Julia."
And then from there, I think Roberta tries to use the jacket as a way to meet Susan, right? So she places her own ad, Desperately Seeking Susan, meet me here at this time, and signed a stranger.
A stranger. Mm-hmm.
And I really love that sequence because then it like really like displays how this all works. So she writes it out, sends it in. we cut to Susan. Susan sees the ad and goes, "Good one, stranger."
Good one, stranger.
Tosses the newspaper aside, and then we cut to Susan's boyfriend.
Jim, yeah.
And he's like, "Who the fuck is stranger?"
That is a great cut. Gets a laugh every time.
And so she goes to meet, but like there's this like kind of B plot going on in the movie the whole time too.
Yeah.
That ties the movie together. And I know that you had your kind of issues with it, right?
It's very minor. It was just, I wasn't expecting it. My first time watching, I was like, the earrings. Like, what's up with these earrings?
So what is up with the earrings?
They are basically just stolen relics from like a museum exhibit.
Yeah.
I want to say. So I think like the guy that we first see Madonna with, I think he was the one that stole it. Like him and his partner or whatever were like criminals.
Because she's in Atlantic City with him, which is like a gambling mob kind of town, right?
Okay. Yeah. So she was getting in a little. She's a trouble seeker. So she's getting in a little bit of trouble, just having her fun, and got mixed up in this like robbery scheme via these earrings, these Egyptian earrings.
Yeah.
So then that causes her to be pursued by this like hitman who's like really not very good at his job.
He's so goofy. Will Patton plays
Will
the
Patton,
hitman.
yeah. With this like incredibly striking like blonde hair. It's just you see him and you immediately go, "What's up with that freak?"
Yeah. Every time he comes on frame, it's just kind of like one of these, just like, you know,
he's slinking. Yeah, yeah, he's a slinker.
He's slinking. What you doing, Will Patton? Slinking on, slinking like that.
Desperately slinking Susan. The thing that initially bothered me about it was I thought that was going to be the amnesiac element. Having not seen it, I was like, "Oh, are they gonna like hot chick it and they're gonna like body swap, personality swap?"
Oh, you thought there was going to be a magical thing to it. Okay. Yeah.
Not the case. It's just they're stolen. This guy wants them back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Pretty grounded in that aspect of it. So my issues with it are kind of null and void. I've just accepted that we need that in there because it does give Susan a good reason to like be sympathetic towards this woman who's taking over her identity. Essentially, like later on, well, at first she's like, "This woman's trying to set me up. She's part of it, you know." And it's all these earrings, and she's like telling this story to Gary, and Gary's like, "I don't know about that." When they're in the club, it's like Roberta would never. The guy who knows his wife so well, she would never. But I think it does lend a lot to Susan's character when she realizes, "Oh, this person's out to kill me, so they're gonna kill her. I need to do something about it."
Yeah.
So it gives her something noble and good to do. So it's like, I'm like, okay, I get it now.
In her own kind of Madonna way, you know?
Yeah.
So I actually love that you like, were like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
With this subplot?
What's going on here? What's going on here?
Is that Tarantino?
Yeah.
Because they do talk about it in the commentary.
Oh, cool.
So like, you know, the script was very different. It went through a lot of different versions.
Sure.
Because they knew they wanted this story about they wanted a mistaken identity thing, and I think the amnesia element of it helped with some plot there, but they were like, what's gonna, like, where is the jeopardy here? What's gonna move the story forward and put the characters into situations that, you know, they got to get out of?
You need a little bit of danger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that kind of MacGuffin element of danger went through a lot of different forms. At one point, it instead of stolen earrings, it was like some like rare stamp, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like they knew they wanted something that bad people were going to chase after them for. And so they ended up on these like, you know, stolen earrings from the, you know, museum.
Yeah. I think it works because then it makes total sense that like Roberta's wearing one of them while she's like got this magician's gig, right? She's just working at the magic club now, like pretending to be Susan still, or she's under the assumption that she is Susan because she's still having her amnesiac bout. And then our hitman is in the audience and he's like, I know those earrings.
Yeah.
That's her. How are you going to do that with a stamp?
She's just going to hold it.
Yeah, she's holding up a letter. Hold up. I know that stamp. I'd know that stamp anywhere.
And that's kind of what the jacket does too, because it's a very unique jacket. It's got like the all-seeing eye pyramid on it, I think. But like just to get that part of the plot in too, when Roberta goes to meet up with Susan, at the same time, Susan's boyfriend asks his buddy, hey, I can't like meet. Can you go get her? You know?
Yeah. Des, Aidan Quinn.
Des, yes. And so Des goes and picks her up, but he's never met Susan. He doesn't know what she looks like. Roberta's being chased by this hitman. She bumps her head and gets the amnesia, forgets who she is. Yeah. So Des thinks she's Susan. She doesn't know who she is. He says, I think you're the Susan person. She goes, well, I guess I am. You know?
I am, yeah.
And so he goes off, and then the entire time, Susan's boyfriend, Jim.
Yeah.
He's like on tour. He's at a gig because he's in a band. Right. So yeah, like that's where like the mistaken identity thing comes in. Like everyone thinks that she's Susan. She's in her attempt to kind of be like Susan and you know, take on her identity. I think it's a really fun, like well-crafted, you know, story in that sense.
Yeah, it's fun. The amnesiac element, my more critical eye is like, oh man, part of me wishes that wasn't there, that it was just Roberta making the conscious decision to lie and be like, yeah, I'm Susan, because she wants it so badly. So she's like, yeah, you know what? I am Susan. And that could be an interesting route to pursue.
I think that would be really interesting, actually.
Right? Because then like when things get too out of hand, like the hitman really tries to kill her and then she gets arrested, it could still play out as like, I'm Roberta.
Yeah.
And then she has to like explain herself to Des and to Gary and to everyone else and to Susan, like why she did this thing. And she still does that. But I think they wanted to go for more of a lighthearted, like.
Right. Now it's
like
these
romp.
things that are like happening to her. And she's this innocent character just kind of mixed up in all this, you know? Yeah. I see that.
Which robs her of agency just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a little bit. But I still love her. And we still get to where we want to get, which was her, you know, talking to Gary after Gary finally finds her. And he's like, come on home. And she's like, why? Look at me.
Yeah.
Why do you want me home? And he doesn't have an answer. It's pretty heavy for like a comedy. So I can see why they wanted to really lighten that with the amnesiac element, to then save that heavier part with Gary for later.
Right. To
not be like, okay, everyone's getting a little sad here now. Let's keep it light, you know?
Well, you know, in the commentary track, I keep going back to the commentary track because it's just a wealth of information about like the behind the scenes and the motivations of the filmmakers.
Yeah.
But they as in the producers, I think it was the producers that were talking about this, but they were like, you know, we didn't make this movie with the intention of commenting on, misogyny or, you know, the kind of marriage dynamics that were changing in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when you look back on it, you're like, okay, yeah, like this is like a really interesting inflection point. Like this woman is obviously dissatisfied with her life, with her marriage. She wants to go out and be different. She wants to be a different person, you know? And she finds a different life. She finds Des, you know, who we haven't talked about him yet, but like,
Yeah, we can come back to him.
He's just fuck energy, just oozing off of him the entire time.
Yeah, dude. Okay. And I'm sorry for anyone under 30 for this. Over 30 for this. He is Frank Sinatra coded.
Yes.
He's just got such a Frank Sinatra vibe.
He's gonna talk like this.
Yeah, you're Susan. Yeah, come on back. But he's getting like when his ex is like hiring a team of goons to like remove all of his stuff from his apartment because of a breakup. He's like, hold on, that's my lamp. He never really goes above. He's like, what the hell's happening here? She took the fridge, you know?
Yeah. He's like a way chill, maybe like version of like Adam Driver's character in Girls, just like kind of a fuck up, but like doesn't really care, you know? Lives in this like loft above a Chinese restaurant. You got to climb 10 flights of stairs to get through.
Yeah. He's got some things figured out.
Yeah.
He's not like Sketch.
No, he's not like a weird or a bad guy, but like, you know, he's just kind of, he's a hipster, I think, you know? And I can see Roberta being really kind of attracted to not just, you know, because he's a good looking guy, but like he's
blue eyes.
He's got some danger to him, you know?
And he's actually concerned about her well-being.
That
which
too.
is a low bar. Yeah, but he's like, I'm worried about you. You know, you hit your head. Like, are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you don't have a place to stay. Let's go. Not just, well, turn off the lights.
Yeah. And keep in mind, he's doing all this to help his buddy's girlfriend, you know? Like, he doesn't even know who she is. They like accidentally fall in love, you know?
Yeah. And I like when he like confesses to Jim. He's like, hey, I did a thing. It just kind of happened.
I know it was shitty, but it's like, what are you saying?
It's like, you said she was beautiful.
Derek, you need to adopt this.
I need that song, Bruce Health.
You need more Frank Sinatra.
Next episode, welcome to PhantasmaCast.
I'm guy number two.
I'm guy number 2. Anyways, here's the fucking episode.
But yeah, we love Des. It's really funny. There's the alternate ending, or rather the original ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
No, but I read just a little bit about it. But go ahead.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
So the original ending of the movie it's the same ending. They just add a bit more to it. And it has Roberta and Susan being recognized, you know, whereas in the original cut, it's just kind of like a newspaper clipping.
Just thrown up at the end.
By the way, credits, yeah.
The earrings were returned.
But in this, it's an actual scene, and then you hear Des kind of like reading the newspaper article about it. Then it cuts to them, and they're just kind of sitting in a bar, and they're like, huh. And then Des goes, have you heard from Susan? And he's like, nah. Have you heard from Roberta? And he's like, nah. And so like they have left. And then it cuts to them. It cuts to Roberta and Susan like on camelback, like going through a desert.
Okay.
Which I think like I think they maybe have gone to Egypt, you know? So like, you know, Roberta gets to have that like globe-trotting adventurous life, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't like that ending because then like she and Des don't end up together, you know? Yeah. Or maybe it becomes more of a Jim and Susan situation, you know?
Yeah. This is obviously a joke. Like that's the lesbian canon ending right there. They run off to Egypt together.
Fucking riding off into the sunset on camelback, man.
That is such a 180 from the theater scene that precedes it of like, my name's Roberta. Mm-hmm. Like, here's who I really am. Des, like, let's try it. You know? And then Jim and Susan in the theater yucking it up while the film burns.
But see, the stupid thing is that still happens in this ending. It's just like that happens, but then they left, you know? So I think they were like, they had shown it to test audiences and audiences were like, Well, it's better when you end it here, you know?
They were right.
Yes.
They were right about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The one guy in the back being like, what about the earrings? What about the earrings?
Yeah.
They're wrong.
Did the Egyptians get them back?
It's Indiana Jones. Did it get returned to the museum or not?
Because that's kind of where they belong, you know? So the last thing I want to hit on before we move on to You've Got Mail is when I originally thought of like the idea of this episode, I wanted to do movies that were time capsules of the, you know, the era in which they were made. And that came from watching Desperately Seeking Susan for the first time, because I was like, God damn, like this movie is such a is almost documentary like in how it exists in these kind of in-between spaces in New York City, you know?
Yeah.
It takes place in the alleys. It takes place in the kind of dumpier parts of town.
In the pawn shops, in the magic clubs.
Yeah. Yeah. And the kinds of people you see are like the real people of New York City. They're not kind of like the glamorous, you know, maybe, you know, what you would see in like, you know, the Wall Street, you know, movie.
Right.
So, I like that. I like that it's a movie that was like, here's like a real texture. Obviously it's like a heightened reality kind of movie and it's a little goofy. But it's got a kind of like David Gordon Green-esque realness to it, you know, where it feels like it's actually in the space that it's set and not some kind of Hollywood rendition, you know.
Yeah. Not some soundstage production kind of thing.
Yeah. And the studio originally wanted them to shoot in Toronto, but Susan Seidelman, who's from New York, was like, no.
Nah.
We're making a New York movie.
Susan's like, nah, we're not going to do that. I couldn't help myself.
So yeah, and I think to a certain degree, You've Got Mail also does that. So let's lead into You've Got Mail.
Yeah, let's do it. So 1998, this is I believe the second Nora Ephron collaboration between Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. The third overall. So there was Joe versus the Volcano, Sleepless in Seattle, and then this.
I put this on the other night to watch with Brittany. Mm-hmm. And the movie's starting, and I'm like, this is the one with the bookstores, right? And she's like, yeah, obviously. And I'm like, there are 3 Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movies, okay?
You're like, first of all, tone. Yeah, obviously. I love that. Yeah, it does get confused with Sleepless in Seattle a lot, though, because, you know, like in retrospect, that could have been a pretty bomb double pairing, Sleepless in Seattle and this film. But we did want to specifically focus on the like methods of communication, which is not absent from Sleepless in Seattle, but I think that just opens the door to a future episode, Sleepless in Seattle and When Harry Met Sally. I'm calling my shot right here. That would be such a good episode.
Vote in the comments, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Or just text me.
Put your phone number on the screen.
You don't put a personal ad out there, you know? But yeah, You've Got Mail, 1998. Let's read the back of this. Let's read the back of this bad boy here. Special delivery. The stars, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, and director Nora Ephron of Sleepless in Seattle, reteamed for this charming audience favorite. Greg Kinnear, Parker Posey, Gene Stapleton, and more great co-stars add note-perfect support to the cinematic love letter in which superstore book chain magnate Hanks and cozy children's bookshop owner Ryan are anonymous email cyber pals who fall head over laptops in love, unaware that they are combative business rivals. You've got rare Hollywood magic when you've got mail. I agree. This is like rare Hollywood magic still. I love that about it. And there's a pretty great special feature that I did admittedly skip forward because I was like, I just wanted to get to the Tom Hanks Meg Ryan aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it was these people talking about like legendary Hollywood pairings since like
like
Judy,
romantic pairings.
yeah, or just like screen chemistry between two leads being like the thing that people remember and come back to. Doesn't matter what the movie is, they're there to see those two people because they've just got something special.
Yeah.
And they focused on like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney as one of those pairs. I saw Katharine Hepburn was up there, Humphrey Bogart. I don't think they were together, but just like as an example of what the special feature was about, that was excellent too. I was just like, I felt like I was 70, 80 years old watching it. I was like, yeah, we really had it all, didn't we? I was definitely not alive for any of these, but I've watched a few of them and I'm just like, yeah, there is something to say about that screen chemistry. Like they were forced there contractually through the studios, to pump out 5 or 6 movies together because you are under the contract, but they made it work and magic happened. Magic can happen,
Do you think we've had another pair since?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good question.
I can't think of any. There was, this is a bad example, but like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
We really tried to make that happen.
Yeah.
They tried to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it ended pretty nastily.
Yeah.
But like, I still think that's even like mid 2000s. So that's not even like this decade or the previous decade. I don't know if there is one really. Like, I'm trying to think of like a Ryan Gosling pair with someone,
Yeah.
Like he is.
Oh,
yes.
No. Yeah, it is. It's Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone.
For La La Land?
They've been in like 3 movies together.
Okay. Joe versus the Volcano. Sleepless in Seattle. Wait, what were the other ones? I can only think of La La Land right now.
La La Land, the Steve Carell movie.
Oh, The Big Short?
No.
No.
Stupid Love. Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. Okay.
And then there was another one, right? There was Gangster Squad.
Gangster Squad.
You remember
Wow.
Gangster Squad?
No.
I thought it was pretty badass.
I did see it at the theaters, but yeah, it didn't click with me really. But I can admire that. Good
but
ball.
not on the same level as this though, right?
Right. I don't think we really have like a current day iteration of like just like undeniable chemistry between two people.
Well, who says we need to? We already got the king and queen of it.
Right. You come for the throne. You best not miss. Yeah, I think that's just a product of us not really having that many like movie stars anymore. We have famous people. We're gonna have like famous people and recognizable faces and stuff, but just like bona fide movie stars,
Yeah.
not so much. Few and further between now.
We've got Chris Pratt and Kevin Hart.
Fuck you for putting that out there.
Just doing their thing,
I think you mean The Rock and Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the new ones. They're the king and king.
Olympus has fallen. We are failed.
Dude, how many movies have they been in together?
Like at least 5.
Wow.
I like Central Intelligence. I no. I'm not gonna do it. Don't let me do it. Kevin versus the Volcano.
I'm glad we found our answer though.
Kind of a tonal shift here, but I just wanted to address this before I go into the movie itself. It's a little cringe, so allow me my cringe. But as like a younger guy watching You've Got Mail, it kind of always approached it as like, oh, this is a chick flick. You know, it always had like that label on it. So I was always I had my reservations about like wanting to seek it out, or even just like if I did end up liking it, what then? You know, oh, I like a chick flick.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Like, why do I like a movie for girls? You know? And I just think it's important to call that out because it's like an unnecessarily like demeaning and like mean. It's just a mean label. It's just dismissive.
It sucks that like marketing made you feel that way, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Marketing did make me feel that way. And you know, and people just bought into it because it rhymes, so it's harmless, right? As like for a kid, no. I feel like a kid, if an adult tells you like, this is a chick flick, they believe you. They'll take that to heart. So just call it a romantic comedy, a rom-com. That rhymes too, and that's legitimately harmless.
Yeah, it's just the genre of the movie.
That is more apt.
Yeah,
to just call it a rom-com. And you know, like some people may disagree with me, and that's totally fine. You may find it pretty harmless, like, I love chick flicks. Sure,
there's a fun way to view that term. Yeah, right.
Yeah, take it back.
Yeah.
You gonna say it? Good. No. Clerks 2 for everyone wondering what's bubbling around in Jake's brain right now. It's Clerks 2.
We're taking it back.
Like if you feel so strongly about calling it a chick flick, by all means. I'm not telling you to change the way you refer to it. I'm just saying, from my personal experience with it, it did prevent me from watching what is otherwise a wonderfully great romantic comedy that I still want to revisit.
It is a marketing term that people use, that men use to demean that kind of movie. But like, let's take a step back and like ask ourselves, what kind of movie is it? It's a movie about two people falling in love, right?
Wow. For females only.
And we've coded that as only a thing like women are allowed to watch and enjoy.
Right. I like love.
Motherfucker, I love Tom Hanks. Yeah. I want to see him be like charming and funny, and you know what I mean? Like, and he gets kind of nasty in this movie too.
He does.
He's mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does suck. That like the way a film is colored, and I think this kind of like is part of a broader conversation that you have a lot, right? About how the way people talk about movies affects how people make their decisions to or not to watch those movies.
Exactly.
And it's like you're leaving gold buried under the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agree. So I think if your reaction to hearing this is kind of like, hey, bro, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
It is, though.
Yeah.
Like it does have an effect. Like words do mean things, and like people do take meaning from it. And like if you get upset from it, that's my point. Is my words do have an impact on you. I hope. But I hope for the better, you know? So do you have it? I wrote a little thing down and be like, here's my one exception to that though, right? Is like a term to describe movies that like only like guys would like.
Dudes rock.
Dudes rock. You knew it. All right. Which I think is a win-win because that's harmless. It doesn't rhyme, but it's just dudes rock, you know? What kind of movie comes to mind when I say dudes rock? Just in case I
have one specifically, and I think it's the movie we watched together that made us start using the term dudes rock. You probably had used it a long time, but we started using the term dudes rock together after watching Cobra.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I was gonna go with Heat.
Yeah, that's absolutely a dudes rock movie.
Yeah. These are dudes rock movies, and that's fine.
Yeah,
like they're for the ladies too, you know. But it's primarily the content of that is just dudes being dudes doing dude stuff. And if you want to watch that, sure, yeah, by all means. It's not closed off. It's not dudes only. It's just, by the way,
yeah.
There's going to be some dudes rocking in this movie.
Just so you know.
But come on in.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, buyer beware. Dudes are going to rock. Dudes be rocking. So
also, dude's a non-gender specific term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
yeah,
there you go.
folks rock, you know? But anyways, let's talk about You've Got Mail.
Okay.
So just a refresher on like the plot in case somehow you've been living under a rock and have never seen this movie. Meg Ryan plays Kathleen Kelly, a bookstore owner for the shop around the corner, which is a beautiful little nod to the original movie that it's a remake of. Yes, it's a remake. But it's so distinct that it stands on its own merits too. So she's this bookstore owner, and Tom Hanks plays a like superstore bookstore owner.
It's like an executive at like what would be like a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
right.
It's absolutely a stand-in for Barnes and Noble here. Fox and Sons Superstore, right? And he's in the middle of building the new store that just happens to be like down the block from the shop around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But unbeknownst to both of them, they're both carrying on like a pseudo affair of sorts, like an intellectual affair via AOL. You've Got Mail. You know, they're pen pals. They're digital pen pals. Meg Ryan, her screen name is Shop Girl, and Tom Hanks's screen name is NY152, which is awesome. I think it's very. I love that their names tell you so much about them. Is that Tom Hanks is like anonymity. I don't really want to give you too much more than I'm in New York kind of thing, and Meg Ryan's just like Shop Girl's cute.
Yeah. Or like I'm like it's maybe like a dad thing of like maybe his birthday is January of 1952. You know.
Yeah. So they actually have like a conversation about that later after spoiler. So they carry on this conversation, this correspondence, I should say.
It's very much like an intellectual conversation, right? It's not like the kind of shit where today it's kind of like Tinder or even like before that, just like text messaging, right? It's not a casual conversation. They're writing like letters to each other via email, right?
Yeah, it's a very like classical view of romance, of just, I want to talk to someone.
Courtship, if you will. Yeah.
But, you know, later on in the plot, after Tom Hanks has unfortunately put her out of business with his superstore, which is a point of contention even now with people like watching this movie and like trying to enjoy that and being like, oh, but Tom Hanks though. I have some words for that actually. But we'll get to that later. He knows who she is at this point. And they talk about their screen name. He's like, so what's this guy's handle? As if he doesn't know. He's playing very coy. He's like, what's his handle? I'm just curious. And she's like, I don't know if I should tell you that. He's like, what? Am I going to write him? No. And she's like, okay. NY152. He's like, 152 years old. She's like, the number of people that think he looks like Clark Gable. He's like 152 moles removed from his now pockmarked covered face. It's wonderful. I love all that kind of banter in this movie. It's just a wonderful dialogue, a wonderful rhythm to the characters and the dialogue in the script. So I think that's just another thing. If you haven't seen this movie, tons of that throughout. And it's fun to revisit it and discover new lines that you'll fall in love with. But backing it up, I think this is primarily a Meg Ryan movie that features Tom Hanks. You know?
I could see that, right? I don't want to say she has more agency, but she definitely has more to lose, you know.
Yeah.
In this kind of liaison.
Yeah, there's like a power element to it, right? And Tom Hanks clearly has the more power as the big like superstore Fox and Sons books owner. But despite that, Meg Ryan as the actor is just downright fun. She's charming. It's just I love her. I love her in this, and it's the reason why I like keep coming back to this movie and why it's like kind of perfect for every occasion to revisit. You know, if you're sick, throw on You've Got Mail. If you're feeling a little sad, throw on You've Got Mail.
It's chicken soup for the soul.
Yeah. if for some reason, I don't know, maybe your boyfriend grew up thinking it was just a dumb old chick flick, show him You've Got Mail. Change his mind, you know? But yeah, she's like, Meg Ryan is just so endearing, or should I say enchanting? Fans will know why I'm using that.
I want to ask for a second.
Yeah.
I think I am a person, don't kill me for saying this, because I want to learn.
No judgments.
I want to learn. I don't think I get Meg Ryan.
Judgments. Sorry.
So help me get her. What is it about Meg Ryan that, like, because there she had a moment, right, from like the 90s to maybe like the mid aughts, right, where like she was like a very highly sought after person to be in these kind of romantic comedies. So like what is the Meg Ryan effect?
I think she just brings like a sincerity to everything. She's not couching her feelings in irony or trying to hide who she is. She's very like in tune with her emotions, in not a way where it's like it like ruins her life that she's so in tune with them, but she's like, you know what? Like, this makes me feel a certain way, and I need to talk about it.
Okay.
Or like when she realizes that Joe Fox is who he is, she's like, you know what? I want to say nasty things to you. That is not who I am. I know who I am, and I'm a nice person, but I want to say nasty things to you. And I think Meg Ryan is the only person that can get away with that. I believe that she's like, you know what? I was raised a certain way to be nice to people.
Yeah.
And you make me want to be nasty. there's just that quality to her that you don't see much. And I like seeing that. So like when I see Meg Ryan, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, how she uses that in different ways.
Is it like I think she has a little bit of like an aloofness to her as well.
Not like a
right?
stupidity.
Yeah.
But a aloofness, a bit of naivete, but intelligent.
Yeah. I think she lets herself be surprised by people, you know, which I guess is another thing that like you don't really see a lot in like a postmodern kind of sense. Like people, they guard their feelings. So they're, I think we're in a much more like sarcastic age, a much more sardonic age.
Yeah.
And I think like there's like an innocence to Meg Ryan that like is like from a bygone era, you know?
Yeah. Where it might be like corny to some people, but I think it's just earnest. And I think we are in a period where like irony and sarcasm rules, and I can't wait till we're fucking out of it. Because there's nothing wrong with being earnest. Like which kind of ties into a central theme in this movie where Tom Hanks is like, it's just business, it's not personal. And she's like, what does that even mean? I'm sick of hearing that. Like, what do you mean it's not personal? Of course it wasn't. That just means it wasn't personal to you. It's personal to me. Like, if anything, it should start by being personal. That's Meg Ryan. That's Meg Ryan. Okay. I'm like, yeah, speak on it. Speak on it. Say it louder.
Consider me learned.
Yeah. No, that's just what I'm craving when I see a Meg Ryan, you know? But all that being said, I do love her in When Harry Met Sally. And I like that movie a little bit more than this. So that's why I pitched The Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally.
I do like When Harry Met Sally.
I think it's a perfect movie. Yeah. It is a perfect movie.
And I don't get Billy Crystal. So someone explain that one to me.
Okay. Frankly, I agree with you, actually. But I think there's just like a quality to Billy Crystal's voice that you don't hear anywhere else. that kind of makes you go, what's that guy about?
Yeah, I can't not see Mike Wazowski.
Yeah.
Yeah. So help me. It's very performative, I think.
So help me. But yeah, I think her character in When Harry Met Sally benefits a bit more from being like her character development benefits more from being the film being set over several years as opposed to like, I don't know, like a few months maybe, or like a year tops in this film. But the best instance of whether you get Meg Ryan or not is the scene, the FOX scene. It's where Tom Hanks is with these kids who are, in the context of the film, his aunt and his brother, these two little kids. And that's fun having him explain that to her.
The little girl's like, he's my nephew.
Yeah. And he's like, we're an American family. And then, his aunt like sneezes and Meg Ryan brings out this handkerchief. And they're like, what's that? And he's like, a handkerchief? Don't the kids know about handkerchiefs these days? And she's like, let me just break this down for you. Like, it's a little like tissue that you like take with you. And this one's got my initials on it. And it's like in between, it's like embroidered in a daisy, which is my favorite flower. My mom made this for me. And we'd like cut to Tom Hanks and we could tell he's smitten. He doesn't really know it yet. And that's the fun of this movie, is we know he's in love. This dumbass doesn't know he's in love yet.
Yeah,
but
because he's got business to attend to.
He's there to scope the competition, but whoops, love happens, but then
I love that moment. He's like looking at that book, and Steve Zahn's like, yeah, there's this like thing about it. And he's like, oh, so that's why it's so expensive. And then Steve Zahn goes, no, that's why it's so valuable.
That's why it's so valuable.
And then he just kind of rolls his eyes.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the moments where I'm watching it and I go, he's so me for real. Steve Zahn, I should say. Just like, and while we were watching it, Mickey pointed out a couple moments where she's like, that's you too.
Okay, let's go.
And after the first couple ones, I was like, okay, now we're getting a little mean. But like another one of those moments is Greg Kinnear, when he's Greg Kinnear is Meg Ryan's like a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Live-in boyfriend, Frank, who's like a reporter of some sort.
Journalist.
Yeah. And they get along fine, but you can tell there's just like, they're a mismatch.
They're on two different levels,
Yeah. There's not like a big animosity between them. They outgrew each other.
Yeah. For sure. And it's very clear, like from the get-go.
Yeah. But he's showing off this typewriter. He's like, listen to this. The Olympia Report Deluxe Electric. Ah, yes. Mickey's like, that's you. Just every time I like buy a new movie and I'm like, it's written by blah, blah, blah. And he cracks it open like, oh, we got 2 discs here, So that's funny. And then she also says, I'm Tom Hanks when he's explaining The Godfather, or like not explaining The Godfather, explaining his quote of The Godfather at the dinner party.
He's so animated about it, right? Yeah.
He just like fires off a quote. She's like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, it's from The Godfather. It's this." That's me. I do occasionally just bust out a quote in a voice and embarrass myself.
In that sense, I was like Greg Kinnear in the other scene where he pulls out a Godfather quote, when he's like, you've got to
go to the mattresses.
You've got to go to the mattresses.
Yeah.
And as soon as the line came out, I go, hey, that's another Godfather quote. And then later she's like, I've got to go to the mattresses. Do you know what that means? And then Greg Kinnear is just like, The Godfather.
He's leaned over reading the paper, absentmindedly. Yeah, it's Godfather. Like even Frank knows.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's with men and The Godfather?
Sorry. Okay. So he's smitten by her because of the story. He doesn't know yet but he's falling in love with her. That's where we kind of came off.
He doesn't know that he's in love with her, but we know it because of the way she interacts with these kids. And just like how she's so open about herself. She's not putting any guards up. She's not trying to be anyone else. She just is herself. So then that leads him to say, what does he say here? It's a pretty good one. He's just staring at her. He goes, "May I ask who you are?" It's such a Tom Hanks delivery. She's like, "Kathleen Kelly. I own this store. And you are?" "Joe. Just call me Joe."
Yeah.
You know? Perfect. That's another point of contention of like him lying or not. He is choosing not to reveal his last name. He didn't lie and give a fake name. He just says, just Joe.
Yeah. And then his aunt's like, he's like, "My daddy owns the," like puts his hand over her mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, Fox Books. My daddy loves to buy discounted. And the kid, this is what makes it the iconic, is the brother just goes, "FOX." She's like, "Oh, you can spell?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Can you spell cat?" FOX. He's like, all right now. Yeah, we can all spell. He puts him off. He's like, "Just ignore everything I'm gonna say." And then he goes back to her, then buys the books, and it's just, I don't know. It's just something about the way they talk to each other in that scene is the old Hollywood chemistry that we don't get enough of. That sorry, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, you don't have it. You don't have what the king and queen have here.
They talk to each other as if they're intellectual equals, you know? There's no kind of presupposition that one of them is like more dominant than the other, you know? And I think that's what kind of maybe works for them in this movie.
But they've got their blind spots.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
That's their whole journey, is recognizing their blind spots and overcoming them for each other. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And I think that's kind of something that's missed by a lot of people in their reviewing of this and being like, wow, Tom Hanks is pretty problematic, actually. And yeah, no, that does suck. Like, I'm not saying forgive him for shutting down her store, but that just is his job. He is, you know, he's the son of a bookstore. He's a Nepo baby, right? That is his job. And he does view it as impersonal. He's like, it's just business. It's not personal. And until she calls him out on that, right? Like, it should begin by being personal. That's bullshit. It's just not personal to you.
Yeah.
And he actually listens to that. He goes, you're right. You know? So he's been living life a certain way, and she is changing him.
But also on the flip side, to suggest, you know, that it's problematic what he did to her, I think he changes her too, because the whole bookstore thing, I think, was her just kind of carrying on her mom's legacy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And she has a conversation with that older woman who works with her.
Yeah, Birdie. I love Birdie.
And Birdie says, she says, like, "You're making the right decision by not knowing what to do," you know? Like, and I think that's like there's a tremendous level of growth there, right? To make a very scary decision. And then from that, like, we kind of hear it in dialogue. I don't think we really see it all that much, but like, she's being approached by these publishers to become an editor for like children's books, you know?
Yeah. I think we get that little inklings of that from Parker Posey's character, who is Tom Hanks's girlfriend, which we haven't mentioned. We somehow have not mentioned. So sorry for any Parker Posey stands coming in. She's wonderful. Love her in this.
Yes. No, yeah, she's great.
I want to give a shout out. Mickey says Parker Posey's character reminds her of Nicole. So Nicole, if you're listening to this, what's up?
Go back and watch You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Look at all the Parker Posey scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and that's another thing that I think like really works about this movie. They're intellectual equals. They've got their blind spots, and they've learned things from each other, and their lives have changed because of their paths crossing, you know? And what's more romantic than that, really? You know?
I don't know. It's just like there is some. This is weird to say, but like when Meg Ryan and Greg Kinnear break up, it's very amicable.
Mm-hmm.
It's very grown up, and I think that's a very like sweet and rare thing to see depicted in a movie. It's not. There's no animosity like, oh, you bastard, he was sleeping with everybody. He was sleeping with Mo with the gimpy leg. You know.
Well, the movie doesn't need that drama.
It doesn't. I think it from some special features that I was watching, it did maybe have a version of that before, but Greg Kinnear was like, what if we just did this? And they went with it. So kudos, Greg Kinnear, for introducing that element to it, which I still love.
Yeah, he's flirting with that that woman who was like interviewing him, right? So like he's got he's obviously outgrown the relationship too, right? And so the fact that they like recognize that and it was amicable with Parker Posey too, Tom Hanks breaking up with him, right? So they've got these very adult relationships that they've gotten out of because they know deep down that like maybe they're in love with their fucking pen pals, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And oh man, we haven't really talked about their whole dynamic as pen pals.
Uh-huh.
But I think that is mirrored in their first interaction at the bookstore of him buying those books from her and seeing his competition, essentially, right? The shop around the corner. He's like, oh, like this is the person who runs that bookstore. Man, she is enchanting. My grandfather was right. Mm-hmm. I love that element of like they talk about her mother who used to run the store, and his grandfather's like, I think I went on a few dates with her before,
and they wrote letters to each other.
She was enchanting.
Yeah,
you know, and he brings that up again. That's why he's like, your mother was enchanting. She's like, yeah. How did you know that? You know, I don't know. They connect. Sparks are fucking flying here.
Yeah,
and they clearly connect over these email exchanges with each other. Of I was hoping to see a message from you. Like, you're the person I need to talk to about this. And even when they set up a meeting, you know, he does the thing. He's like, I love that conversation where she's like, I just had this conversation with this guy and my mind went blank.
Yeah.
I wish I had that, whatever it is, to say what I mean to say when I mean to say it. And he's like, well, I'm pretty good at that. Like I could give you some tips, but be warned, when you say the thing that you mean to say, a regret inevitably sets in.
I think we should.
You think we should meet? Yeah. Meet. And she just closes the laptop. Beautiful storytelling. I love it. There's a lot of complex inner workings, like interpersonal workings, going on in this movie that I wasn't expecting the first time I watched it, and I really appreciate every time I rewatch this movie. I'm just like, this is so well crafted and well thought out, and just well rehearsed and pointed. So when people maybe lob the critique of how could she still fall in love with him after what he's done to her, I think it's there. There are breadcrumbs there where even she from earlier on is thinking that yes, she loves the bookstore. It's her mother's bookstore and she loves doing this, but she kind of feels stuck in it. She like feels trapped in a way. It's like it's she got what she wanted, but now what? Kind of thing. Like what else is there in life? Like she feels like her experiences now are boiled down to the things that she reads in books, and it should be the other way around. She should be able to recognize things in books from her real life, and that's pretty deep. I like that. That makes you think. That makes you wonder about your own experiences. I'm like, oh, do most of my experiences be like, oh, that's a fun thing I saw in a movie or on TV, or is my life reflected in the things that I watch too? So in a way, the shop around the corner closing is her decision too. It isn't just like, you know, they get bombarded by the Fox Books and Sons so hard, that like it just shuts down and everyone's destitute. She says, nope, I've seen the writing on the wall. I'm going to close down. Even Birdie, the older woman, is like, I'm rich. Like, I'm good. She's like, I bought Intel at 6.
Yeah.
That was during that conversation that you mentioned of her saying, like, this is a blessing in disguise. Like, this is, you were brave to close down the store. Now, I know it doesn't feel like that now.
Yeah.
You like easy for me to say, like, that someone else making a big change in their life is brave. And she's like, yeah, you're being nice, but thank you for the words.
Yes.
But it does allow her to go into the unknown and make something of her life that's her own.
Yeah.
And not her mother's store. Now it's time for Kathleen Kelly to carve her own path. Mm-hmm. How we got there, yes, feels problematic, and Tom Hanks does realize that. And he works, like, the second half of the movie is him working towards, like, damn, okay, these dominoes are already in motion, but I love this woman. So, like, I fucked up, and there's probably no way that I can make it right, but I'm going to do what I can, or I'm going to, like, address my faults and form a friendship with this person. Like, when he comes over with daisies, he remembers her favorite flower when she's feeling sick. And he's like, oh, by the way, like, George says hi, Steve Zahn's character. So he hired George at his store.
Yeah.
Afterwards. He's not like, fuck you. You shop around the corner, get lost, bum.
Yeah. He's like, no one can work in his department without having a PhD in children's literature or something, Like,
exactly. And whereas before he'd be like, oh, yeah, you love Pride and Prejudice, that Mr. Darcy and, what's her name? This time he approaches and he's like, yes, I read it again. And I really love Elizabeth Bennet. He names her. Mm-hmm. He's like, I've revisited something. I'm listening to you, kind of thing. And she's like, why are you here?
Yeah.
With the daisies. And he's like, I'm just trying to be your friend. I'm just trying to be your friend.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet, very earnest. And he proves that through, a bit of, like, movie deception of, like, continuing to, like, carry on the email correspondence and then be like, oh, what did he say? You think he's married or something like that? But I think Tom Hanks's charm sells that well enough where I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
So when at the end, spoilers for the ending, they got together. So at the end, when, it's revealed, when he walks up with Brinkley and she spies him across the park, and he gives her a shrug and he's walking up to her. You can see in her face all those complex thoughts that are going on. And she's like, I wanted it so badly to be you, Oh man, that's so good. That's so good. I love that. So watch it again. If you think, I don't know if I can enjoy it knowing that Tom Hanks goes out of his way to ruin her life. He goes out of his way to change himself.
Yeah.
And be her friend. Mm-hmm, like that's a man. That's a man right there. I'm sorry. He was a bad, capitalist, a bad businessman there, but he does a lot of necessary growth to be worthy of that. It's very Pride and Prejudice too. For as much as they talk about Pride and Prejudice, I'm like, this is such Mr. Darcy shit right here.
And that was Desperately Seeking Susan and You've Got Mail. Two just awesome rom-coms.
Perfectly delightful, entertaining movies. Yeah.
You've Got Mail is, it's a bit more grounded in reality, but it does have that kind of like love story, Pride and Prejudice kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complex than people may give it credit for.
And Desperately Seeking Susan is a little goofy, a little bit of like a heightened reality, but I think just an all around like fun movie. And you get to see Madonna like right at the beginning of her like rise to stardom, and I think that's fucking awesome. So
that's cool. That's history. Yeah.
Yeah. So, go out, get these movies, watch them together. I think you're going to have a great time.
Agree.
And that's PhantasmaCast. Thanks for watching. I am Jake.
I'm Derek.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time on PhantasmaCast.